Hey, I'm Cam Day. Welcome to the channel and to today's video, and welcome back if you've been here before. It's a pleasure to have you. I hope you're doing okay. I cannot wait to just dive in. As you know, we are going to be going through first impressions, swatches, reviews of the brand new Glossier Cloud Paint shades. We've got Eve and we've got Spark. I'm really curious to see how they look, how they show up on my skin tone, and how they compare to some of the existing colors. Because if you've noticed, like I have, they look kind of similar to some ones that already exist, right? Now, something that I think maybe some of you don't know, I am a former Glossier offline editor, meaning I have experience working in the Glossier LA store. And I was around when we did the first extension of the original Cloud Paint shade. So there were 4 original Cloud Paints, and then a little over a year ago, I want to say, they came out with 2 more bold, dark shades, and that was Dawn and Storm, which was huge because not only did people want bolder colors and just more colors, but we really just needed more representation for darker skin tones, and these were a great next step. Now I'm really excited that we've got more and that we've got more to play with because I will never not want to. However, maybe they're siblings, maybe they're cousins, they're looking really, really similar. So we will get to the bottom of it with some swatches. First, I'm gonna apply the blushes first. I'm gonna do one on each cheek just so we can compare. Also, just because I did my makeup today and didn't put blush on, knowing I was gonna be trying these out, and I'm just ready to get some color on my cheeks, to be honest with you. My mom saw me, she would want to pinch my cheeks, you know? So let's do that first, and then we'll get to reviewing. So, Cloud Paint application coming to you in 1, 2, 3. First color we're going to test out is Spark, what Glossier calls a poppy red. Usually I'm not really a red blush kind of girl, but for the sake of the video and for our own education, I am right now in this moment. I'm gonna do it on one cheek, and like I said, we'll test it out on the other just to do some comparisons. I prefer to apply Cloud Paint with a brush most of the time, even sponges. I just feel like you get a little bit more of a diffuse layer and it gives you more control. You can build it up if you want, so that's what I'm gonna do. I like to use a duo fiber stippling brush like this. Just take a little tiny bit because I have a feeling this is gonna be kind of intense, and we're just gonna lightly pat it on. Oh yeah. Very lightly, very lightly. Now the thing with these more bold colors, like Dawn and even Storm or Haze, from the existing color and shade range, is that they have kind of this tendency to stain, which can lead them to be kind of difficult to blend, which I'm experiencing right now, and also be a little bit patchy because they will dry a little bit quicker than you might think. Okay, so that's definitely reading very pink on me, which is what I was expecting. Again, I don't usually go for reds a lot of the time because of this reason. I think it's cute though, it's a nice flush. Now, I like a lot of blush, so that's why the color is kind of intense, but it also is just a little goes a long way, is all I'll say. And I think that's what most people, if you've used other Cloud Paints, again, especially the darker colors, you know that, and that's just a reminder. So also, I used my hand kind of as a palette. I'm gonna quickly wipe this off to see what the residue looks like. It's really not that bad. I think Haze and Dawn have a little bit more staying power and stain power, so I'm glad to see that this one is a little more manageable. Now let's give Eve, the rich mulberry shade, a try on the other cheek. If you do prefer to use the Cloud Paints with your fingers, or just want to get it onto your cheeks with your fingers, then blend it out with whatever else, I do recommend squeezing directly from the tube vertically, because if you've ever used, and just take the amount that you want, if you've ever used Cloud Paint before, that's already too much, I can tell. Sometimes it'll just squeeze out onto your hand or onto your face and you'll get way too much. So I would recommend holding the tube vertically and going from there. Blending her out, I can already see that there's 2 dots from where I first applied this. I think part of that is the formula of the darker colors, but also there will be less chance of that happening if you have a dewy, juicy base, or if you don't have anything on underneath. I do have foundation on and I have a little bit of powder, but I've been able to put cream products over powder before without there being so much stickiness, I don't know. So far, I'm definitely leaning toward Eve because it shows up a little more mauve on me and it actually kind of matches my top. It just feels a little more natural to my skin tone. Spark, I almost called it Star, oops. It's just a little bit bright for me. I know that I applied a lot, so I can definitely tone this down. Maybe I'll go over with my concealer or foundation just to neutralize it a little bit more, but I definitely see myself reaching more toward Eve than I would for Star. But I think they'll be really nice and really complimentary on darker skin tones. And also if you just like more rich tones on your cheeks, these will be really fun. But just know they read very bright. This has almost like a violet tone to it, and this reads very, very pink. And again, that's on my skin tone, more of like a medium, leaning kind of olive, but ultimately neutral skin tone. So keep that in mind. I have rounded up the troops and I did some swatching. However, I realized I don't swatch like this many colors that often, and most of the time I just do stuff really like fast and furious for myself. And I got a little carried away. So this is gonna be a little awkward because it's a little, yeah. So don't mind me. I hope you can see this okay. So this is a really light swatch of all of the existing shades, not fully blended so that you can see the payoff, but you can see at the top that they are starting to have been blended, if that makes sense. I really hope this works, y'all. I'm so sorry. Okay, first up we have Puff, which is kind of like the OG Cloud Paint in my mind. It's a really light pink flush. Next we have Beam, which is more of a coral peachy tone. And then we have Dusk, which is more of a nude, almost slightly bronze tone. Then we have Storm, which is one of the ones that will be going into a deep dive after the full swatch comparison. Then we have Haze, Dawn, a bright orange. Then we've got our new shades, Eve, a rich mulberry, and Spark, a poppy red. This is how they all kind of compared to each other with a similar amount of opacity, just so you can get a really good comparison for all of them. Now let's do a comparison of these three, Storm, Haze, and the new Eve, because this is where my interest has been piqued. First and foremost, this is Storm. My packaging is a little faded because I have had it, I think, since it launched. P.S. Did you know that cloud paints expire 6 months after opening? However, this could last you like 3 years. So something to keep in mind. But here's Storm and here's Eve. My lighting's off, sorry. They look super similar. Not only from the front, but even their caps are super, super close. Yes, there's a difference. Eve is a little bit deeper, but if you were just to go through your bag and try to grab one, you could definitely very easily mistake one for the other. However, in the swatches, this is Storm and this is Eve. They look different enough, you know? So I'm like, you could have switched it up. I don't know how. They could have just maybe made the colors deeper on the actual packaging. I don't know, but that's probably one thing that I wish they would have tried a little bit more on, because they've also done this with other shade extension launches for different products where the packaging is like not that new and exciting. And I know they're not going to totally switch it up, but I think they could have amped up the color maybe a little more. This is the real nitty-gritty that I wanted to get into. I swatched all three of them. I'm still working out my lighting situation. This is a fairly new recording setup for me, so please bear with me. I hope these show up okay. This is Storm, which is much more of a almost burgundy tone. It definitely has like a brown undertone, so that is pretty evident. This is Haze, which is much more of a fuchsia tone. And then on top, we have the new Eve. Now, this is what I had assumed, and I'm confirming it right now, that Eve is kind of like if Storm and Haze were to have had a baby. It's got the purpley tone of Haze with the depth of Storm. So it's a really beautiful color. I totally love it. Like I said, I would choose it over Spark because I just like the tones a little bit better and I like the way it shows up on me. But that's something to keep in mind, and something that me and the people that I worked with at the store used to do all the time. We would just mix and match cloud paints because It was fun, you can customize, and you just get your colors to go a long way. And again, these are gonna last you a really long time, so I think it's fun to mix and match. It gets you, you get a little more use out of them. So if you don't necessarily want to make the purchase on Eve and you have Storm and Haze, I think you could combine the two and get away with it. Just saying. And lastly, we've got this fiery trio. We've got Storm, Dawn, and the new Spark. Here they are swatched, and I am super, super pleased. Up top, we've got Dawn, which is a very true orange. So I think if you've used it before, you can attest to that. And that's what I like about it, is that it's very true to its own color. And the less you wear, the more subtle of a flush it can be. And then the more you build it up, the more poppy and intense. And it looks so beautiful on rich, deep skin tones. Next, we have new Spark, which is a very true red, which again is something I'm excited about. It actually gives me Generation G Zip vibes, which they called it a poppy red too, so I think they're kind of complementary. It stands alone on its own. I added Storm just because I wanted the comparison of another slightly red color. It's the most red of the other existing cloud paints. Obviously, it's a lot warmer. Again, it kind of has that rich, slightly brown undertone maybe. Excuse me. But it's a burgundy. It's got that red to it. So I like being able to see it next to Spark, and how Spark is completely different. It's in a lane of its own. It still has the brightness and the pop that Dawn does, which I think was really exciting. But it is completely different from all of the rest of them. So in my final assessment of all of these shades, and especially of the two new shades, if you're gonna buy one, I would definitely say go for Spark. Now I know that's contradictory to my initial wear test and what I prefer on myself, but this is really for the people who maybe already have the full lineup of cloud paints, you OG stans you. Or if you already have a couple of the cloud paints, and if you are prone to choosing a darker tone like a Storm or a Haze, I would say Eve, like I said, is kind of a combination of the two, or is similar enough that, I don't know, I just think you can kind of live without it. But that's really more of a luxury if you do have the two. If you have one, I would consider picking up Eve because it is really beautiful. It has the brightness of Haze and the depth of Storm. So it's kind of the best of both of these two worlds. But Spark, there are no other shades like it. And that's what I'm looking for, especially from Glossier as they come out with shade extensions or new products altogether. I want them to have brand new colors, or just colors that you can't really get by mixing and matching the existing ones, and that is 100% what Spark is. The beautiful thing about the cloud paints is that they're pretty versatile just because of the texture, so you can also wear it as a flush of color on your lips, you can even do it on your lids. It's just fun to wear everywhere, and it gives you a really beautiful flush, and again, you can build it up. So if you want to just do a little bit, if you just want to be light and coy, do that. But if you want to be bold and punch someone in the face with makeup, if that makes sense, these colors will definitely do it for you. A reminder that they are $18 each, but they have a duo. They've always had this set. If you buy two, you get them for $30. So it's a nice little savings. And if you are considering buying the two, I would recommend it because they do fit nicely into the existing range. I wouldn't consider either of these a dud, although Spark definitely is more trailblazing in my opinion. Personally, I'm still holding out for like a nice dusty rose color, kind of like a mauve, or if, let me look, if Dusk had a baby with Puff and Storm. I really wish that there was something kind of like that, or if we could get more of a salmon color. So if Beam had a baby with Dusk, maybe, and Puff, I don't know, something a little bit more bright than the three of them. So like with the intensity of a Dawn or a Spark or a Haze, because these are like really muted, you know, but I'm a nude girl. I like more natural tones, and I just want something that has a little more oomph to it, a little more depth. A girl can dream, right? All in all, I'm pretty pleased. I'm glad I was able to test these out for you. I know the process of deciding to make a purchase, especially if you're a researcher like I am. Like, I will watch all of my favorite reviewers and bloggers. I will read reviews on websites before I actually make my decision. Part of that is just my paralyzing indecisiveness, but I think within this community, we're so important to each other to be able to share our experience and reviews and feedback. So I hope this was really helpful for you. If you have any questions, just let me know, anything that I may not have covered, or if you're actually gonna maybe pick one up after watching the review. I'm really curious to see what you think and what your plans are, and just get back to me. I always love hearing from you and chatting with you down in the comments. That's all I got for you. Thanks for hanging in. I so appreciate it. You guys mean the world to me. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. We're growing daily here and it's so exciting and I'm so, so grateful. I can't wait to keep creating more and more for you. That's all I have. Actually, I'm really thirsty. Have a wonderful rest of your day, night, wherever you are, whenever you are. Please take care, be well, and I'll see you in the next video. Love you, bye.